of a shot at winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Just a note before we get started, we had some connections and some sound quality issues during the recording of this, so apologies in advance. And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. We've got a very special guest on with us this week, all the way from the other side of the pond. He is the New York Daily News beat writer for the Jets, Antwan Staley. Antwan, thank you very much for joining the show. How are you, my friend?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Not so bad. It's great having you on. We were just talking a little bit off air there. For the people in the UK, when we're going to click on your links over on Twitter or Instagram or something, we can never get to see them because it's not available in our region. But folks, if in the UK, if you want to read this stuff, get a VPN and you can read it. And it's some really, really great stuff. So let's get straight into this. The New York Jets, they had as far as I'm concerned, as a Jets fan, they had a pretty good draft. What were your feelings overall about the draft that the Jets had?
I mean, I like what they done. I mean, it was some questionable decisions there. Obviously, I think people look at the David Bailey and Ariel Reese conversation, and I mean, I can kind of understand why they went with Bailey simply because of, you want more proven production, especially as an edge rusher, in Bailey as opposed to Ariel Reese, who it may take him some time to kind of develop, especially considering he's 20 years old, and obviously Aaron Glenn is, some people perceive him to be on the hot seat there. But the fact of the matter is they chose the proven commodity over the guy that, may have the highest ceiling in the draft. So we'll have to see how that works out. But, getting Sadiq and obviously Cooper, too, as well. Like, Sadiq, I knew they were interested in. I didn't think they would draft him, but, that was a little bit of a surprise. But when they got Cooper, it was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I can kind of understand what they're trying to do there, try to add more firepower there to the offense that was really stagnant, especially as from a pass offense perspective. And then, you look at the defense there, and then I like the Ponds pick. That's probably one of my favorite picks that the Jets did, simply because I think he was one of the best corners in college football last year. I think the only reason he slipped to where he did in the second round is just because he's a small guy. He's 5'9", 170, 80 pounds or whatever the case may be. But he's one of the best corners, and I think a lot of people, saw that in the Big Ten last year and just around college football in general. So yeah, I mean, overall I like what they did there. The Klubnik pick was kind of, a little head scratching there, considering they gave up 2 picks to trade up for him, when I didn't think they necessarily had to do that. But overall, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, as you say, I'm with you with the D'Angelo Ponds pick as well. He was one of the guys I was really, really gunning for. It's funny you mentioned Sadiq as well. Sadiq getting into about the last week and a half prior to the draft, I was kind of thinking that most of the wide receivers that I wanted were going to probably be off the board. And at that point, I was just thinking, you need to just get the best pass catcher. And if that ends up being Sadiq, take Sadiq. Obviously, and when it came to the pick, it was a bit reminiscent, I think, for a lot of Jets fans, with Will McDonald and Jackson Smith and the Jigba being there. I think everyone thought it's going to be Lemon, and people were putting their feet up and patting themselves on the backs. And then the card came in, and it was Sadiq that we took, which is quite a surprise. I like the fact that we traded back in for Cooper as well. I actually, on my big board, purely because I thought Cooper was a slightly better fit than Lemon for the team because of his outside play. I thought he was just more of a fit. Would you agree with that over Lemon? Antwan, are you still there?
The best receivers in football last year. So I really adore him a lot. Like, I thought.
Oh, we're just losing you again.
Slot too. Yeah, I'm a big Lemon fan.
Sorry, okay.
No, I really like.
Sorry, we just lost Antwan for a second there. Sorry. Getting back to Lemon.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Lemon a lot. Like, I thought he was one of the best wide receivers in college football last year. So I thought somebody that could, line on the outside, but also, inside as a slot receiver too as well. So yeah, I thought he was a good fit for the Jets, but maybe maybe they didn't think so as well, especially having a guy like Garrett Wilson already, who's kind of similar size and does some similar type of things too.
Yeah. There was other picks as well that I really liked. I liked the round 6 Cooper, the guard out of Miami. I thought he is a
Yeah,
big
Advanced
man.
Cooper, yes. The guard, yes.
6'6", 335 pounds, 45 career college starts. I don't think he led up a sack or he only one pressure in 518 pass blocking snaps last season.
Yes.
So hell of a pick. And I think probably the steal of the draft was in round 7, VJ Payne, the safety out of Kansas City State.
Yeah, I like Payne too. I thought he's a guy that's really good as far as run coverage too as well. But somebody that's still developing as a safety too as well. He was a converted linebacker in high school, ended up playing safety at college at Kansas State, and somebody that's still growing and learning the game too as well. So yeah, I definitely think it's gonna be interesting to see how they fit all those guys in, especially all the talent that they've accumulated at the safety position this year. It seems like they're taking a different approach this year as opposed to last year, where they have a lot of young guys and not necessarily, maybe a lot of answers to the position. But I seem like they're in a much better place at the safety position. But I'm curious to see how a guy like Payne figures in with everybody else on the roster.
So these players that we've brought in, and considering the players that we've actually picked up in free agency as well, on the defensive side of the ball, they seem to have concentrated a lot on stopping the run. So with this draft, it looks like they've addressed a little bit, as you've said, with Bailey addressing straight out is kind of straight out the box, isn't he? Pass rusher. He'll give you that edge that you need, along with Will McDonald on the other side. Do you see him as Bailey is going to be a 3-down player? I mean, hey, we're taking him at number 2. He can't just be a DPR.
That was the biggest question with me. That's kind of why I kind of leaned towards Arvell Reese, because I thought he played the run better as opposed to Bailey. Like, it was really Bailey's very similar to Will McDonald to me. Somebody that's is questionable in run defense, and I think we saw that with Will at times. Like, I think there's a question if Will is a 3-down player in the league too. But the Jets feel comfortable with Bailey at that position there. They feel like he's getting better as a run defender. I still, the jury's still out for me. I think they leave themselves vulnerable in that end too as well, especially when you got guys that are really questionable in that area. But I think from their perspective, they did enough in free agency where they would be able to. They got the guys that can actually help those guys out too, like Sweat too as well. He ended up getting Jackson in the 4th round from Florida State, a big guy, 6'5", 315 pounds there. That's bringing the call in the middle too as well. In addition to having guys like Harrison Phillips and Jawan Griggs already on the roster.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern going into day 3 was we still didn't have that big body back up for Sweat. So I'm really glad we picked up. I don't think there's a pick. I was quite surprised about the Klubnik pick, and we'll get into this in a little bit. In one of your columns, you mentioned the continuous hamster wheel of Jets quarterbacks, being Geno Smith now being the veteran bridge. Do you see Geno Smith as being more of a problem, or do you think that there's more upside to bringing Geno Smith in this bridge strategy? Because obviously 2027, we're probably going to be looking at a quarterback again in round 1.
I think he's better than what he played last year, although I don't know if Geno Smith is the long-term solution either. But he was in a bad situation with the Raiders too. Not to say the Jets were great either, obviously, finishing also 3-14. But, Raiders had one of the worst offensive lines in football. They didn't necessarily have a lot of weapons as far as skill position players around him. And Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator, got fired. Pete Carroll obviously got fired at the end of the year. So I feel like he's at least from a structural position, he's in a better place than what he was with the Raiders in Vegas there. Having said that, I do think, he's going to have to play better. He didn't play well at all last year. I think he would probably tell you that too as well. He threw a lot of interceptions really the last couple of years, even dating back to Seattle, just turning the football over. One thing about Geno Smith, he's definitely going to air the ball out, something that Justin Fields was reluctant to do last year. And you have to, give and take too. It's going to be times where, he delivers deep passes to Garrett Wilson or, Omar Cooper and other receivers down the field, but there's also going to be times where, he throws it to the other team too as well. But, I definitely think he's going to give you an opportunity to win each week there. And, it's going to be some excitement in the terms of that, but he just has to limit the turnovers. And, he can be a good solid guy to get to whoever they decide to take in 2027, whether that be Arch Manning or, Julian Sane or obviously Dante Moore from Oregon too as well. I'm sure it'd be a target as well. So yeah, whoever they decide to get, I think Geno is a good stopgap guy, at least for 1 year, maybe even 2 years, depending on whether you want to keep him in 27 to get to that rookie quarterback or not.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to get whatever happens. By the time we get to 2027, the team's going to be in good shape. And you look at that O line, it looks to me very, very similar to the situation that Geno Smith left behind in Seattle, with how that team was put together, with the big back, the decent run O line, and the decent weapons that they had in receivers. Do you see similarities between the Seahawks and the Jets in that relation?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, they were also a young team there, and it's kind of putting parts around the quarterback position, even though they didn't necessarily have maybe the long term answer. Maybe they thought Geno would be, and then they decided to go the Sam Darnold route too as well. But I actually like what they're doing, where they're surrounding the team. They're building the team around the quarterback position, and then hopefully they can just either it works out with Geno, or they can just drop a quarterback in that situation, rookie situation, and then have them produce and hopefully do a good job there too as well. It's going to determine on how quickly these young players can produce and get up to speed there as far as offensively and defensively too as well. So yeah, I mean, long as Garrett stays healthy, I think he's gonna have a bounce back year. Obviously missing 10 games from a year ago. You definitely can get some support from Brees Hall too in the passing game and also the running game. It'll be interesting to see, can they keep him long term. I have my doubts about that, but Mason Taylor there, obviously getting Sadiq and Cooper there, and the offensive line is in a really, really good place too as well. So I love what they're doing. I think the ceiling for this team is probably like 7 or 8 wins, but I think if they could just show a little bit, progress, unlike they did last year. I think fans would get excited at, what's left to come in 27 and beyond.
Yeah, so we had, I've just been reading, our strength of schedule's just come out, and apparently we're on top 5 in easiest strength of schedule as well. So I think that's...
yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say too, because you're gonna have teams that were bad and they're gonna be really good this year. So it's really hard to say. But I will say, on paper, to me, it doesn't look easy because, you got to play the AFC West and the NFC West. So you got, Kansas City should be better. We'll see what the Raiders look like there. Obviously, the Chargers and Broncos were both playoff teams there. And then you got the NFC West where you got the 49ers, Rams, and Seahawks, all contenders. And that.
Well, just dropped off again. Sorry, we just lost you there, Antwan. Sorry, we got a really bad line to the other side of the pond here. So we were just talking about strength of schedule there. So the Jets have got a relatively easy strength of schedule. Conversely, the Dolphins have got one of the hardest strengths of schedules. Exactly how do they work this out, Antwan?
Well, it's based on where you rank as far as standings each from each year. So basically that's kind of where it all stems from. But I think the Jets I think they play a lot of tough opponents, quite frankly. But, I know that the Dolphins may have different opponents that they play. I hadn't had to see what their schedule is too. But I know they both play the NFC West and also the AFC West, which is not going to be easy by any means, honest with you, where you got the 49ers, Rams, Seahawks to deal with, and you got the Chiefs, Chargers, Broncos also to deal with too as well. But either way, I think it's going to be interesting to see how those teams play out. But yeah, I think it's a tougher schedule than what some people may think, at least on paper.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as well. I was quite surprised when it was ranked as being that easy. You mentioned the kind of the ceilings are probably going to be around 7 wins. How do you see the team playing, the Jets playing interdivisional against the Bills, Patriots, and the Dolphins? Do you think that there's a new order going to be happening here? Do you think the Patriots are going to lead the division again like they did last year?
I think I tend to lean towards Buffalo. But yeah, I wouldn't discount New England. I still think they're a playoff team. I mean, you got Drake. I know a lot of things been going on with the Patriots, obviously. Uh, like don't necessarily need to get into everything, but yeah, but yeah, I still think they're a quality team there. You got a franchise quarterback there. You have a tremendous coach there, with a lot of things surrounding him. But, I think that might be the best thing for him. But yeah, I think the Patriots are still probably a 10-win team there. I tend to lean towards Buffalo because anytime you have Josh Allen, your window's going to be open. Like I don't care what people have to say. Like they have the window as long as Josh Allen continues to play at a high level. They just need to keep surrounding him with more talent, on the field there too, on both sides of the ball. But yeah, I if I had to pick right now, if you put me on the spot, I probably would say Buffalo is my favorite to win the division, and I think New England would get a wild card spot. In terms of the Jets and Dolphins, they're kind of little pegs like below that. But yeah, I think the Jets will be better than the Dolphins, or at least they better be, or
Yeah.
they're not. Then we got some really big issues to kind of figure out too as well.
Do you think though, if the Jets are playing well enough, they might not be getting the wins, but they're in games, which is I think pretty much what we were all hoping for last year. And that Pittsburgh game, things looked really really great, and then there were other games where it was either the offense were playing well and the defense weren't, or vice versa. But as long as we're in games, do you think that would be enough for job security for Glenn and Muji? Are they handcuffed together, the pair of them, or do you think that if the season, God forbid, did go down the toilet, that either Aaron Glenn or Darren Muji would get fired, or both?
I don't think they're a package deal at all. Like I think you could see, Aaron Glenn potential. I'm not saying he will or won't, but if you could see him being fired and them keeping Muji on, because I think he's done a good job, just kind of roster construction too as well and everything like that. So I never think it's a world where you could keep one or the other. Particularly Muji and Glenn too as well. So they're definitely not a package deal by any means. But to answer your first question, I guess it depends on how it looks, but yeah, it has to look a lot better than what it did. You would think it can't look much worse than it did the last 5 games of the season, but I know they had some injuries and the roster looked entirely different and everything, but yeah, I think you can't win 3 games again. Like you're gonna have to you got to show some progress there. 3 to 6, or as long as if they end the season off on a positive note, then I think you can see a world where maybe Woody Johnson brings Glenn back for one more year to just kind of see what he can do. This is his project there. They are trying to figure out, how to navigate this rebuild and everything like that. So yeah, I think it'll in a world if they win 6 or 7 games, then yeah, I would tend to lean towards Glenn coming back next year.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I've got a gut feeling. Been around this team since 1984, and I've got a kind of gut feel. I go with my gut feeling more than I do over my head these days. My feeling is that Glenn's probably got a little bit more rope than people are giving him credit for. There's obviously a relationship that Glenn's had with Woody Johnson over the years, and I think that
Yeah,
goes
I
some
mean,
way.
it's the Jets, so it's all you're always on the hot seat. Like
Oh, for
it's just
sure.
kind of what it is. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Like especially with Woody Johnson being there. So yeah, that's just kind of what it is. Like a lot of people perceive him to be on the hot seat. I think is again, he was not happy. Woody Johnson was not happy, from what I understand. Just how the season went, the last 5 games too, as well. Obviously, we talked about the roster looking entirely different, but just from what I understand, like he was not, happy at all. Not to the point where he was going to fire Aaron Glenn, but uh, just upset. Then I can't really blame him. I mean, you're paying a lot of money for,
Hmm.
for a coach and roster and everything like that, and you get blown out by more than 23 points your last 5 games. So I wouldn't necessarily be happy about that either. But, it's a new time, new season. But so long as it, again, like the outlook looks a lot better than what it was late last year, then yeah, I tend to think Glenn is coming back. But yeah, I mean, with Woody, he's so unpredictable that you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, been the problem over the years, hasn't it? It came out. I think it was the Athletic. There was a certain reporter who we've just sort of like kind of nearly talked about. Was like breaking news that there were leaks that this was going on and this was going on in behind the scenes about Woody interfering. So we hope as Jets fans that this isn't something that's going to continue. Yeah, we just don't want Woody interfering anymore. Let the football guys do football things and let them sort things out. Um, hi, You mentioned the quarterbacks. I just want to go back. You mentioned, God, I can't, just forgotten his name. Uh, Josh,
Gino
Josh,
Clubnet.
Josh Allen. You
Oh,
mentioned
Josh Allen. Yeah,
Josh
yeah,
Allen. We've got Drake May, and now we've got Malik Willis in this league. This is
yeah,
one of the reasons why I was more on the Arvell Reese train than anything else.
yeah.
I've said this right before the draft. There's so many great players at the top end of this draft. It was going to
Correct.
be difficult to upset me. I wanted Arvell Reese. I would have been happy with Arvell Reese. I'm still happy with David Bailey, but I would have been happier with Arvell Reese. The reason why I wanted Arvell Reese is exactly for that reason. I think it was a Will Parkinson from Badlands that mentioned, these quarterbacks, they're aliens, and Arvell Reese, he's an alien, so fight aliens
Yes,
with aliens kind of thing, and
correct.
that's why I wanted him. But he can play edge, and obviously he can play linebacker. Now, of course, we've got David Bailey, who is purely edge, but we're still short linebacker. How how much are we going to be missing another linebacker? And is there any linebacker that you think that the Jets could be looking at to bring in? Sorry, folks, we just keep dropping off. This is awful. It's our technology, across the Atlantic. There it is. So we're just talking about Arvell Reese, what he can do, and obviously he can play edge, he can play linebacker, and obviously David Bailey is just an edge, so it leaves us short at linebacker. Do you think there's anyone that the Jets will be looking at to bring in, either in an undrafted free agent or a free agent, or maybe even a trade?
Maybe not now. I mean, their roster is pretty full as of now, especially with the undrafted free agents that they have coming in, the rookie minicamp over the weekend. So, yeah, I mean, I I wouldn't say never, but I think right now they're pretty set as far as a roster construction too. Like I think it depends on just maybe injury occur or who somebody shakes free from another team. They obviously monitor that too as well. But I think they're pretty set as of now, as far as the free agents that they brought in, the players they already have on the roster, and then obviously having 8 draft picks last weekend too. I mean, a couple of weekends ago as far as the draft. So yeah, I mean, again, like I won't say never because still think they have some weak spots too, especially if you look at the linebacker core too as well. But I think they're pretty set as far as like what the team is going to look like heading into training camp.
I think the presence of Demario Davis, obviously he brings leadership, and I think you talked about this in one of your columns as well
Yes.
about changing the culture. And someone like Demario Davis, and to an extent as well, Geno Smith, he's going to bring that veteran presence, that leadership. And he's playing. He's come back, and it seems like he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, like unfinished business. So these players that we're getting in, it's a good mix of veteran leadership and youth. And obviously, we haven't talked about it, but Garrett Wilson, the person that I think is going to benefit from everything that's gone on, is Garrett Wilson. All of a sudden, Garrett Wilson is not going to be the focus on defenses anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be the sole focus. I think he'll be the main focus, but he won't be the sole focus because you have Brees Hall, now you added, Omar Cooper Jr. and obviously Sadiq there too as well. And we'll see what Mason Taylor brings to the table. In addition to that, A.D. Mitchell, who I think it'll be a good, third, fourth wide receiver too as well, on that roster, especially somebody that can stretch the field and do what he can do, just from an athletic standpoint. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have to pay more attention to this team now as opposed to last year when you had Justin Fields just doing basically a lot of check downs there and never really stretched the defense in addition to that. So now you got a guy in Geno Smith that's going to air it out there. You got guys down the field that's going to, get open. As long as Garrett stays healthy, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to get you at least 90, 100 catches a year. In addition to just kind of with all the other weapons that they have. So yeah, I think they're in a much better place from a roster standpoint than what they were even just a year ago.
Yeah, you mentioned Brees Hall. Obviously, he's got that is it a transitional tag? I think they put on him.
Franchise. It was
Franchise
franchise
tag.
tag.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
franchise tag. Beg your pardon. Do you think that they'll get something done within the next few weeks, or do you think he possibly might even be up for trade, or they'll just go through the season and let him walk?
I mean, I first of all, I don't expect to see him at any point of the offseason program. So we can start there, especially considering he's technically not under contract. He hasn't signed the franchise tag, so he's not obligated to show up for any offseason work, even the mandatory minicamp that they have in June. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see Brees Hall at all throughout the spring. Like to answer your question as far as like long term, we talked to Darren Muji about that. There's going to be more of a focus on getting something done too as well. It's been rumors like, is Brees Hall really happy being a part of the Jets too as well? Because they dangled him and kind of, trade. It was trade rumors last year at the deadline there. They ultimately decided to keep him. And now, like, you had to keep him now, but keep the franchise tag because you didn't trade him last November. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to try to get something done there. I'm not really optimistic they're going to get something done, but, they feel confident that Brees Hall is going to be part of their future too as well. I'm kind of like split. Like if I had to bet there a year from now, we probably talk about the Jets having a new running back there because I think he's probably wants to start over there. He's been frustrated by losing, and I really can't necessarily blame him. He might want to be in a situation where, he might, be utilized a lot better there, but we'll see how Frank Wright uses him throughout the course of the year. Cause I think he's in a much better situation, at least from a, utilization standpoint with a guy, Frank Wright, that's been around the block there and understands what a guy like him can, do on the field there. And I think he could have a really big year heading into free agency possibly again too as well. But I'm split on whether they get something done with from there. Cause he wants to be paid and compensated, like one of the top running backs in the league there. And, the Jets have their number too as well, what they're looking at.
Yeah, that would be, from if he didn't sign his tender, that would be so. I can't even think about that. Obviously, I think it was Kansas City that were reportedly in for him
Yes.
at the back end of last year.
Yes.
Did they? They were offering a 4th round pick or something for him, weren't they?
Reportedly, yeah. The Jets wanted higher compensation to move off Brees Hall, and the Chiefs didn't want to give it to him, especially for a guy that's going to be an impending free agent too. Because if they gave up a day 2 pick, then essentially, if you're the Chiefs, you have to try to sign him to a deal like instantly. Because you don't want to give up a day 2 pick for somebody that's going to walk out the door in a few months. So yeah, that was kind of their thinking too as well. But yeah, that was that rumor. Yeah, that's kind of what I heard too as well. It was like a 4th round pick, and the Jets declined that.
Well, if Brees does end up moving on, it's going to leave a massive hole. I know we've got Braylon Allen, and I know we've got Davis as well.
Here's my thing too. Like I think, yes, like it would hurt a little bit, but I also think that you can find a running back that can get you quality touches too as well. Or if you want to find multiple running backs that can do, different things too, or like a pass catcher, or somebody that can run downhill. I have to more examine the running backs coming out next year too, because I've really been looking at quarterbacks lately. For 2027, but yeah, I mean, I think they'll be fine no matter what. I think 2027 should present some talented options, at the running back position. The problem is though with the Jets too, depending on how many games you win, if you want a guy like Arch Manning or, as far as Dante Moore and you win 7 games, you're probably going to have to give up all your 1st round draft picks, or at least 2 of them, just to move up enough where you can get one of those top guys too as well. If that's what you want to do, if you want to find one of your future franchise quarterback, which then in terms, like, it's going to limit what you're able to do later on too as well. Maybe you take a running back with that the 2nd or 3rd 1st round pick too as well.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting draft next year. Just on, I'm conscious of the time and your time that you're giving me, so I just want to there's a couple more questions I just want to get to you and your reaction. We've been linked with Russell Wilson. Can you see this happening, or do you think another veteran will be signed, or do you think they're just going to go with what they got?
I think they want to add a veteran too. I mean, it's really going to be up to Russell Wilson. It seems like he's weighing TV options as opposed and also being the Jets' backup quarterback. So, does he want to end his career right now and just go straight to TV where you don't have to worry about getting hit, potentially there, especially considering the carousel that the Jets, endured last year at the quarterback position? Or, do you want to, stick around one more time there and play with a guy, Geno Smith too, that, they played together in Seattle. They have a great relationship. as well. He lives in the area, so he doesn't have to move around too as well. If it's not Russell, then I could see them potentially bringing Tyrod Taylor back too as well. But that's why you go out and get a Cade Covenant too as well, because you don't want to be in that similar situation where it was last year, where you're using an undrafted free agent and Brady Cook to start games too as well. So that's why you go out and use those 2 draft picks, and maybe you go with Tyrod Taylor in addition to Geno, and then if something, obviously Tyrod Taylor has not been the model of consistency in terms of injuries. Well, I guess he has been, because he's been suffering injuries throughout the course of his career, but he's been injury riddled, I guess I should probably say. And then now you have a backup 10 to your backup, in Cade Covenant, just in case something were to happen.
Yeah, that's the worst situation. We've got Brady Cook under center again. Don't want to see that again. Thank you very much.
No, we do not.
My last little point I just want to get out. We've talked about edge rushers. We've got another good edge rusher on this team, Will McDonald, WMD. The reports are that the Jets will be picking up his 5th-year option.
Yes, it's already happened. Yes.
It's already happened, is it?
Yes.
Right. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay. Yeah, it did happen. It happened last week, actually, didn't it?
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, because the deadline was last Friday, so yeah, they had to pick it up by then.
That's right. I've completely forgotten about that. It was just on my notes there. So anyway, that's all done. Antwan, thanks very much for coming on the show. Sorry about this choppy line. It is what it is.
Hey, we got through it, so hey,
we got through it. Where can folks find your work?
You can find me at Antwan Staley on all social media platforms. Also find my work at the New York Daily News at nydailynews.com.
That's absolutely brilliant. And he's a really good follow. And you have a mailbag every now and again, so ask him questions and hopefully he'll answer your questions in his mailbag.
Yeah, I do it usually like once a month, not like during the season twice a month, but yeah, during the off season, usually once a month. So yeah, send those in there. We'll definitely have one before OTAs in May.
Brilliant. I'll look forward to your columns again. As I say, I can now read them, which is absolutely brilliant. So thanks again for coming on, Antwan, and all the best, and go Jets.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers, Antwan.
All right.
Y'all know what to say. On 3. 1, 2, 3.